if I can email that to everyone. Okay. Are you going to start, Josh?
Is there anybody on there again? Okay. Okay. Bye. Okay. Sorry about that. You're joining us again. Welcome back. Some strange technical difficulties. We're going again. So, if people think my personal yoga practice is probably pretty crazy because I like to do a lot of things like handstand, headstand, and balance poses and things like that. But actually, my home practice is fairly simple and consists of a few different poses and not a whole lot of crazy stuff. And this is actually the bulk of my home practice, is working on this pose in particular because it really relates a lot to the stability in the hips for a long spine, which will help a lot in meditation. And so it's a great pose to meditate in. And for me, it's really lately been making a huge difference in my hips more than doing a bunch of different flow poses. So my practice has really come from a lot of different poses down into much fewer. So if you are just joining me today, we're going to take a few minutes and do a longer hold, kind of more in line with how I do tend to practice. And we're just going to hold a nice long wide-legged Upavishta Konasana. Then you can modify it for yourself. Some of you are much more flexible in the groins and hips, and so you might be able to lie forward. Because you're at home, you might have more props. You could grab a chair to lean into. You could take a block if you have one and lie forward. For me, having my hands behind allows me to sit up. It gives me some push to actually lengthen the spine and sit up taller. So feel free to join me in that or modify. As you progress in this pose over time, your feet tend to be able to open and go a little bit wider. The connective tissue starts to release. It's kind of like a saran wrappy kind of material under your skin. And so it takes time to kind of slide and move. So you got to kind of take your time in poses to really get into the connective tissue. And then you want to start to sit towards the front of your sits bones and press down on the inner thighs. You don't have to use your hands, but just like in that manner, rotating your femur inwards and grounding the femur. So the thigh bones are actually trying to push into the floor. The more you can actually push into the floor, the better. It's an important movement in yoga, probably one of the most important movements to get strong. It's to be able to really push into the ground with the thigh bones. That that movement's done in well, every pose, but in many poses to a great degree. Now, if you find that this pose is starting to get boring or like it's easy for you, then you could reach up, make it a little more challenging. If you find that it's really quite challenging, you could make it easier on yourself by adding a block to sit on. All right, good stuff. Now bringing the feet in, finding Baddha Konasana, cobbler seat. You could stay on a block if you're on one, if you want to. And again, taking a longer hold to let the hips start to release. You might be able to come forward, catching hold of your ankles or your toes. And sitting up. Now let's come into right leg forward king pigeon or alternative thread the needle. And you could stay in the upright or lying forward king pigeon. And then coming back through downward dog. Other leg forward, king pigeon. And coming back through downward dog and into malasana, garland pose, or variation, or sitting on a block. Okay, back to seated position. Ready for Navasana, catching hold behind the hamstrings, extending the arms, just lifted, feet up. Crossing the heels, coming down, sitting up tall, lying forward over crossed legs. Walk the hands in, coming back up, Navasana, maybe taking it a little bit further. And then crossing legs the other way, coming in, and see if you can come forward. And then sitting up tall, legs forward. Now in this exercise, there's a few different versions. Different people like different ones you can choose. So one of them is cradle pose, where you grab your right leg and cradle it from side to side, like so. Another one is grabbing your ankle and you circle it forward away from you and then up and in, like this. I like to do both, personally. Now once you're done with that right leg, set it down, sit up nice and tall for Janushirshasana A or Janushirshasana B, maybe a block for support under any floating knees. Sitting up tall, coming forward if you can. Some version of Janushirshasana for you. Okay, sitting up tall and releasing. Other side. Taking that cradle pose, side to side movement if you like, or windshield mirror wipe, let's call it. And then into Janushirshasana A or Janushirshasana B or 2. Sitting up tall, hinging forward, grabbing ankle, foot, strap. Okay, and sitting up, left leg forward, right leg across. Sitting flat, right hand behind, sit up tall, gently twisting to the right. You could also do the version where your foot's tucked back. Unwind. Right leg forward, left leg in, cross. Sitting up tall, gently twisting to the left. Okay, and unwinding. So a couple options for this next one. You can, if you like, the easier version would be to come into a supported bridge with a block or with your hands holding. But if you are tight in the front and the quads, that also restricts you in the hips. If you can, your option is to come into Supta Virasana instead. So either little bridge or Supta Virasana, whatever works better for you, reclining to whatever degree is comfortable for you. And pressing up. Try to come up without twisting. And then we're going to take a wide-legged child's pose. See if you can go extra wide with your knees. And walking the hands forward, rest the forehead. Or some version that you prefer, if you like. Okay, walking the hands in, bring the knees in, and coming around. All right, we're going to do our Shavasana now. You could do this bit of an internal rotation. It's a low back supported version of Shavasana. If you like, you could do the hip opening one, but I recommend if you do the hip opening one to take some support under the legs. You can do it with a blanket over the feet under the shins. That supports the ankles. The legs get a little bit of support. It's really comfortable that way. Feel free to give that a try if you like. And let's just take a few relaxing minutes in Savasana. Now, please stay in Shavasana as long as you like. I'd like to do just a little healing mantra, the Gayatri mantra. I think we all need more healing in our lives in these challenging times. Om Bhurбhuvah Swaha Tatsavetur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhyo Yo Prachodaya. Om Bhurбhuvah Swaha Tatsavetur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhyo Yo Prachodaya. Om Bhurбhuvah Swaha Tatsavetur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhyo Yo Prachodaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Please feel free to stay in Shavasana or in meditation as long as you like. I'm going to meditate a little longer here live if you want to join me. Again, thank you all for joining us and for your patience with our technical difficulties. We're getting better. We're just running into some new little snags, but snags that we probably won't run into again. Fingers crossed. But anyway, thanks again for your patience. And as my teachers always said, the key to a great practice is just showing up, even if it's challenging, even if your class keeps cutting out and you got to keep reloading it. So anyway, thanks for showing up and for your persistence and diligence and patience. And again, feel free to continue. But if you got to go, thanks again. We'll see you next time. Namaste. show you guys a really technical way that you can set up for a meditation if you have all the props you want or need in the world, like I do. Nice. Actually, I'm going to use this meditation cushion was made and given to me by my first meditation teacher, Buddhist nun, and it's pretty awesome. Sometimes I prefer a block because a block makes your hips stay flat, whereas with something filled with buckwheat like this, your hips can kind of dig in on one side and your hips can tilt. And I'm not saying you have to do this at all or that you should do this. I'm just showing you one way that I work on my meditation. So you put a strap just below your hips and just in front of your knee, and then you tighten it nice and snug, so it's kind of like hanging in there. Then you can push out of the hip and into the strap, and that really activates the femur, but also pulls you into sitting up taller. Pretty brilliant. I think it's an Iyengar yoga move. Nice and press out like that, but still now my knees floating. Block, still floating. Here's the foam pad. So pretty technical. This is just the legs. Like, my meditations get pretty complicated sometimes, but if you're going to be sitting for like 45 minutes to an hour, it's taking 5 minutes to set up, is pretty reasonable. Okay, so if you want to join me sitting up tall, you don't have to look like you're dependent on tons of different things to meditate, but whatever you need to get comfortable. And relaxing your shoulders, bring your awareness to your breath. So generally in breath meditation, you don't want to do things like ujjayi breath where you're regulating your breathing. You want to just let your breath be natural, just breathing in and out. Let it be natural. You'll notice it changes. Usually when you start meditation, your breath is more choppy, shallow, short. And then as your mind starts to calm and your consciousness kind of levels out, you could say, your breath starts to reflect that as well. But it should come from the inside. So just your breath relaxes because your mind is relaxing. Now, sometimes you can notice tension in your breath where there's tension in your body, or vice versa. So it can sometimes help to scan the body as you're aware of your breath, be aware of your body. The two become very interconnected. So that's usually about how long it takes to get people going into meditation. So if you're feeling like you're in a good space, keep meditating, keep on going on. But I'm going to end the stream now, and I'll see you next time. Thanks again for tuning in. And if you're still watching after all the technical difficulties and you stayed for the meditation too, kudos to you. Thanks for doing that. You're a trooper. Namaste. See you next time.